We can bring them in. We're going to go on the record. Court is calling 2019 CR 10921, State of Texas versus Brandon GUZMAN. Can I have parties announced for the record for the state?
Jason Jorgens, Jason Garahan, and Daniel Escobar for the state.
Defense?
Robert Mauer for defendant, Your Honor.
And are you Mr. GUZMAN?
Yes, ma'am.
Are both parties ready to proceed? State?
State's ready, Judge.
Defense?
We're ready.
All right, let's bring the jurors in, please.
All rise for the jury.
All right, everyone, please be seated. State, if you can call your next witness, please. All
Yes, Your Honor. The state calls Raul Juarez.
right, could you raise your right hand for me? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can lower your hand if you'll state your name for the record and spell it, and please keep your voice up so that the court reporter and jurors may hear.
My name is Raul Juarez, R-A-U-L. My last name is Juarez, J-U-A-R-E-Z.
All right, state.
Thank you, Your Honor. What do you do for a living?
I am a detective with the San Antonio Police Department,
How long have you been with SAPD?
20 years.
Were you a detective for all 20 years?
I know, I was a patrol officer for about 7 years, and then I promoted to detective about 13 years ago.
Well, we've heard from some officers in this case. You received additional training as a detective.
But we go to a detective promotional school. Yes, sir.
What does that involve?
Pretty much just classes about, well, back when I went through it, it was mainly classes about prosecution guides, doing interviews, testifying in courtroom, those kind of things. Yes, sir.
And anything about investigating?
Oh, yes, yeah, investigating crime scenes and follow up on investigations. Yes, sir.
When you first promoted to detective, what unit were you assigned to?
I worked for 5 years with the night investigative unit, the night detectives unit. So the city of San Antonio is a big city, but overnight, we don't have like robbery detectives, property crime detectives. So the night detective unit is kind of a catch-all. So if a felony offense occurs at night, like a shooting, stabbing, sexual assault, the night detectives handle the preliminary investigation with that. They do the beginnings of it. And then when the daytime comes, the daylight darlings show up, we pass off the case to those detectives and they continue with the investigation. So I did that for 5 years.
And what unit were you assigned to after that?
From there, I was transferred to homicide back in 2015.
What are your duties as a homicide detective?
So initially, when I worked over there, I was assigned to, so it's homicide is split up into assault section and then a murder section, which everybody, and then the traffic division. So when I went over there, I originally worked in the assault section. And then in 2016, I was transferred to the murders section. So we investigate murders, manslaughters, suspicious deaths, suicides, often involved shootings, anything like that.
How were you assigned to a particular investigation?
There's a rotation. There's a certain amount of detectives on each team, and the team's broken up by days off. And I mean, it's pretty simple. It's just, you're at the top of the list. You pick up a case, you're assigned to a case, you go to the bottom of the list, you just rotate like that.
Were you assigned to a case on July 29th of 2019?
Yes, sir.
Were you a certified peace officer on that day?
Yes, sir.
How did you become involved in that investigation?
My sergeant just notified me. So it was during the day, so usually we're monitoring our radio. So I had heard the call on the radio, but so we hear a shooting, we try to monitor it because obviously it could result in anything. If somebody passes away or there's a need for homicide, then we get requested and we went out to the scene, and that's what happened in this case. We found out that one of the people had passed, so we responded.
You remember the address that you responded to?
535 South Acme.
Do you remember the apartment number?
Oh. And it was building 10203.
You sound uncertain, are you?
Yeah,
Okay. Did you prepare, I think you mentioned prosecution guides before, did you prepare a prosecution guide in relation to
Yes.
this? And just, let me finish asking the question.
Yes.
For you. All right. Would, seeing that prosecution guide help refresh your memory?
Yes, sir.
May I personally check?
Yes.
All right, I'm handing you a copy of your prosecution guide. If you need to refresh your memory at any time, if you can refer to that, and then if it helps refresh your memory, please answer my question just from your memory, all right?
Yes, sir.
So what was the address that you responded to?
It was 535 South Acme, and the apartment was 10203.
Which I think is what you testified.
Yes.
What did you do when you first responded to that address?
So when I respond to the scene, usually if there's not other investigators there, I talk to the officers, kind of get an idea of what happened. Since officers are usually the first ones to respond to scenes, they have a better idea as in the preliminary information, in the sense of, are there any witnesses or the victims, is just any of the initial information. So that's pretty much what I did. They're the first ones to, like, if somebody says they felt something, they'll talk to the officers. And if there's any video or anything like that, they're usually the first ones to tell us.
Did you speak with any witnesses at the scene?
I did, but most of them were transported to headquarters just briefly. Or the officers told me that this witness, the downstairs witness heard this. I talked to them briefly at the scene, and then they were transported to headquarters for statements.
What's the reason for transporting them to headquarters?
So I thought, if I have the opportunity, or I try to talk to them at the scene just to get an idea of what the person saw or didn't see, because sometimes, people are just, it's a chaotic event, so people are just passing by, think they saw something, or so we just kind of try to go through, did somebody actually see something, or did they get there after the fact, those kind of things. So if we find a witness that actually did see something or has some information, we take them to headquarters so they can provide a written statement, which is taken by a detective and then typed and signed.
When you were at the scene, were there any potential suspects developed?
We had a description of the suspect.
Do you remember what that description was?
Hispanic male. The main thing that I remember, which it was consistent with the few witnesses that I spoke to, was the hairstyle, that it was just short on the side, and curly, poofy on top.
Were there any names that were given?
So one of the witnesses who lived across from the scene said she had
I
spoken.
don't object to your saying.
Offered for the effect on the listener, Judge.
I'm sorry.
Offered for the effect on the listener.
All right, that'll be sustained.
What did you do after you got the description of the potential suspect?
So I stayed at the scene, and I had other detectives helping me. So there was detectives canvassing for witnesses and video. And then a detective went out to the scene to talk to the surviving witness. So we're just trying to gather as much information as possible.
Did you talk with the surviving witness yourself?
Not at that time, no.
What is the normal procedure for a case like this that has so many officers responding? Who is supposed to talk with these different witnesses?
So generally, like, since I can't take everybody's statements, we divide the duties, and there's usually detectives. So we split the duties. If the people had to wait for me to take all of everybody's statements, and it would take a long time. So there's detectives back at the office that helped take the written statements from the witnesses that were sent back to the office.
What did you do next in your investigation?
So I stayed at the crime scene. And then afterwards, returned to the office.
What did you do at the office?
So I was at the office and I talked to another detective. And she mentioned that there was, she was familiar with preliminary information I had developed in the case.
Who did that information relate to?
It related to Miranda Garcia.
Did you, during the course of your investigation, did you determine who Miranda Garcia was?
So at that point, I determined she was the girlfriend of the person involved.
How did you determine that?
Through social media.
May I first witness, Judge?
Yes.
Showing what's been marked as exhibit number 53. Are you familiar with this?
Yes, sir.
Generally speaking, what is it?
It's a screenshot of a Facebook profile.
Have you seen this profile before?
Yes, sir.
Is this the profile that you were referring to with social media?
Yes, sir.
Does this look like an accurate photograph of that profile?
Yes, sir.
And to your knowledge, has this photograph been altered in any way?
No, sir.
At this time, Your Honor, we offer exhibit number 53 for all purposes under defense counsel.
All right, state's exhibit number 53 is admitted without objection.
Thank you, Your Honor. May we public?
Yes.
All right. So Detective, what are we seeing up here on the screen right now?
That's just a screenshot of Miranda Garcia's Facebook profile.
And to your knowledge, this Miranda Marie Garcia, is that her full name?
Yes, yes, sir.
And what is that in parentheses below her name?
The word Guzman is in parentheses under her name.
And below that?
It says, if you're not Brandon, I own FWU.
Do you know what that latter part means?
I think it means I won't fuck with you.
So through the social media, what were you able to do?
So looking at the profile, I took the Guzman and Brandon and did a database research with that name.
And did you identify any potential suspects from that information?
Yes.
What did you do after you identified a potential suspect?
So in research Mr. Guzman, a picture came up, and then in one of the databases, he was documented under the nickname we had been told at that point.
What was that nickname?
Gibby.
Why was that relevant to your investigation?
Because that's information we were already receiving in regards to the suspect.
What did you do now that you had that information?
I printed a picture, a single photo of Mr. Guzman. And I went to University Hospital with Detective Aguilar, who was wearing a body worn camera at the time.
And what did you do at the hospital?
I spoke to the survivor, Mr. Hernandez, and talked to him about, I mean, he had already talked to another investigator, but I just kind of got from him his, like what happened, even though he'd already kind of talked to another detective. Since he had already mentioned that nickname, I kind of asked some more questions about, how do you know this guy? Like, kind of, are you familiar with him? Because why would you say his name? And he kind of explained to me how he knew him.
So then it sounds like you're saying that he was familiar with the suspect.
Yes, sir.
We've heard a bit about photo lineups. What is the SAPD policy for showing a single photograph versus a full photo lineup?
A single photo lineup is just what it is. It's just one picture. A photo lineup, photo array is multiple pictures shown. And usually a single photo you show to somebody that's familiar. So they're used a lot in family violence cases because they tend to have some.
Object to relevance.
Oh,
That'll be overruled. You can continue to answer.
yeah, so it's just you just show them if they're familiar. What you try to do, and what I did in this case is, since it's not a familial type relationship, how do you know them? How long have you known them? How many times have you seen them? What kind of dealings? One of the things I always say is, if you're at HEB and you saw this person you're talking about, would you know who it is? Yeah, those kind of things to see how familiar. And if they do feel they
I'm
know,
gonna object to narrative response.
Sustained.
so I show them the picture.
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
You can ask your next question.
Thank you. When you showed the photo to Mr. Hernandez, was he able to make an identification?
Yeah, you recognize them immediately.
May I use the well, Judge?
Yes.
All right, we're looking now at what's been admitted as stakes exhibit number 27. Do you recognize this?
Yes, sir. That's the single photo, or a copy of the single photo I showed that day.
And the name Gibby on there, who wrote that in?
Mr. Hernandez.
Okay. So what did you do after Mr. Hernandez identified the person in this photo as the shooter?
On that day, based on that information, had a positive ID on Mr. GUZMAN. I applied for an arrest warrant. And since he was shot during the altercation.
Were you able to obtain arrest warrants for both of those?
Yes,
charges?
yes.
What did you do next?
That either that day or the next morning, I let rope detectives know that the rope detectives are the undercover guys, covert guys, and they usually are the ones who look for suspects in these types of cases. So I let them know, gave them the information.
Do you know what they did with that information?
The following day, they notified me. I don't remember the exact time, but it was that Tuesday. They notified me that they had stopped the vehicle and that Mr. GUZMAN was in custody.
What did you do at that point?
I went out to the scene of the apprehension.
And what did you do while you were there?
So when I was there, I talked to, the rope guys. There was, he was taken in custody without incident, as far as I know. They do their thing as far as that. So he was in custody. They informed me that there were some firearms found in the car and some drugs. I got Miss Miranda was also in the car. I got consent to search from her to have the car searched.
Okay.
Yeah.
And were you familiar at that point with what caliber of ammunition was used at the 535 South Acme shooting?
Yes,
What caliber was that?
45.
Are you familiar with the caliber of firearms and the caliber of ammunition that were found during the consensual search of Miranda's vehicle?
Yes, there was 9mm pistols and some 2 45 caliber live rounds.
What happened with Miranda and Mr. Guzman after this apprehension?
They were transported to homicide for statements.
Did you take a statement from Mr. Guzman?
Yes, sir.
Did you ask him about the name Gibby?
Yes, sir. He mentioned he was known to Gibby when he was in middle school.
What did you do next as part of your investigation?
The next day, I mean, I spoke to Miranda briefly. The next day I canvassed for video back at the crime scene, and there was a street camera located at Old Acme Road. I mean, Old Highway 90 and Acme Road. And I reviewed footage from there around the time of the murder.
Or just some judge?
Sure.
Do you know who operated the cameras that were at Highway 90 and Acme Road?
So they're city cameras. They're not at all intersections, but our video and investigation unit is the one who has access to them.
And you said that you reviewed footage from that camera?
Yes, sir.
May I approach the witness, Judge?
Yes.
I'm going to show you first what's been marked as State's Exhibits 55, 56, and 57. Would you take a look at those and let me know if you recognize them?
Yes, sir. 55 is an overhead view of, looks like the west side of the intersection of Old Highway 90 and Acme. 56 is, I'm guessing Google Maps, like street view of the intersection, looking at the Shell station. And the other one is same kind of Google Maps kind of view from the direction of the Shell station and toward 151.
And the areas depicted in these three exhibits is that the general location that you were talking about referring to the camera?
Yes, sir. It's just out of where the apartments are.
And is the camera visible in at least 56 and 57?
It might be, if, yeah, in 56, it looks like it's hanging right under that bar where the
Okay.
street lights are and the street sign.
And is it visible in Exhibit 57?
Yes, it's on the, it's just a different view. It's like kind of from behind it.
Okay. And so the map in Exhibit 55 and the street views in Exhibits 56 and 57, are these accurate depictions of that area?
Yes, sir.
Now, specific vehicles may change, but does that area look generally how it appeared to you at the time that you responded to that location?
Yes, sir.
And to your knowledge, has there been any alteration to these photographs or maps?
No, sir.
At this time, Your Honor, we'd offer Exhibits 55, 56, and 57 for all purposes, tendering defense counsel.
All right, State's Exhibits 55, 56, and 57 are admitted without objection.
Thank you, Your Honor. May we publish?
Yes.
So we're looking at Exhibit 55 now. I'm not going to risk zooming in. Are you able, you should be able to touch your screen. Can you mark where the camera was located on this map? All right. So it looks like you're indicating a little kind of triangular island at that intersection.
Yes, sir.
Is that right? Okay. And now State Exhibit 56. Can you try to, I know it's a broad brush, but can you try to circle the location of the camera on that? Okay, and then lastly, in Sync Exhibits 57, can you try to circle the location of the camera on this view? All right, thank you, sir. Now, are these are just different angles of the same intersection? Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
Okay. May I use the well judge?
Yes.
I'm showing you what's been previously admitted into evidence as State Exhibit 1. Can you? Here, I'll see this. Can you tell me if you recognize the area depicted here?
Yes, sir, that's the area, that's the apartments are just north, or at the north end of that picture.
Near-
And
near-
the intersection is at the bottom.
Okay. So can you mark, make sure this whole thing is there? That's as much as we get. Can you mark first where the apartments are in Exhibit 1? Okay, and so that's the area that you responded to for the shooting investigation?
Yes, sir, approximately.
And then where's the intersection that you were referring to? Okay. May I approach the witness, Judge?
Yes.
All right, sir, I'm showing you now what's been marked as Exhibit 58, 59, and 60. Do you recognize these exhibits?
Yes, sir, those are still shots from the coastal video, city of San Antonio video camera at that intersection.
And is this generally these exhibits, is this how the video appeared when you reviewed it?
Yes, sir.
All right. Have you had a chance to review the video that was recovered in full, like more than just these screenshots?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Do you remember the timestamp on the video?
9:44, 33.
Okay.
AM. AM.
Okay, sorry. What did you see in the video then?
I saw the Miranda's vehicle.
How did you identify that as Miranda's vehicle?
So the vehicle is very distinct rims. They were black with a little like chrome on the side. There was chrome trim, and it had like a little roof antenna or antenna on the back. And it was I would say it was maroon in color.
May I use the well, Judge?
Yes.
Detective, you said that you responded to the scene of the apprehension, right?
That's correct.
What vehicle did you observe at the apprehension scene?
That same vehicle that I just described.
And when was the apprehension relative to the shooting?
It was the next day.
Let's take a look. I'm showing you now what's been admitted as Exhibit 36. You recognize this?
Yes,
What is it?
that's Miranda's car.
And how do you recognize it as Miranda's car?
Well, the description, I mean, that's the car she was in when they were apprehended, and it's got the same black wheels with a chrome trim around the side and chrome trim along the doors. So that little, yeah, it's a little hard to see. It's got that little antenna on the back end of the roof.
In exhibit 48, can you see the antenna a little bit better there?
Yeah, I see it. I don't know the, do you want me to mark it or?
If you can, yes,
Yeah.
yes. So it looks like we can see a bit of that line sticking up above the trunk. Is that where you're circling?
Yes, sir.
And in exhibit 50, what are we seeing here?
That's a back left bumper damage.
Okay, and in exhibit 50, sorry, 44?
The same, sir. It's a back left damage to the bumper, to the rear bumper.
Were you aware of what was recovered from that vehicle?
Recovered, there was guns, narcotics, cell phones, ammunition.
So what's the, would those have evidentiary value?
Yes, sir.
So what's the policy when there are items in a vehicle search that have evidentiary value? What does SAPD do?
Generally, a CSI collects them. Narcotics, depending, so, well, as homicide unit, we don't do narcotics cases, so there's a unit involved that does generally file narcotics cases. They take custody of the narcotics and use those in their cases.
Now, aside from the narcotics, the firearms and the ammunition, were there other items in the vehicle as well?
Yes, sir. There was Mercedes key fob.
Was there anything significant about that fob?
Yes, the surviving victim, Mr. Hernandez, was driving Mercedes vehicle at the time of the shooting.
When did you learn about that?
That he was driving one?
Yes, sir.
That the day of the shooting, sir.
Who did you communicate that to? If anyone?
No, I don't. No, I didn't tell anybody. I mean, I don't, as a scene, we all, the only reason I knew is because we didn't know how to move his vehicle. If we even needed to, and it turned out we didn't. And then, when I talked to him at the hospital, we just told him that we had locked his apartment, and he said his keys were probably with his Mercedes keys, but we didn't have them.
Was there anything significant about the keys themselves that would indicate that they have evidentiary value?
Yeah, so when I didn't see the keys at the scene, I didn't see them until I saw a picture of them. They were on a little key ring, and it looks like there's maybe at least one key on there, but it looks like what appears to be a gold gem, a little key tag membership tags.
Mary, well, Judge?
Yes.
Great. I'm showing you what's been entered as exhibit 30. Do you see the keys that you're referring to in that exhibit? Near the backpack.
Oh, yeah, there. Okay,
And then now a closer up view in exhibit 28.
yes, sir. That's the one that I paid more attention to afterwards.
It sounds like you said that you saw them in a photograph. Did you ever see the key in person or the key ring in person?
No, sir.
Why not?
I wasn't involved with the search of the vehicle. When I got there, I spoke, like I said, I spoke to the detectives that conducted the traffic stop. The CSI Detective Patton, they did the search, took photos. I focused more on my area of getting Mr. Guzman and Miranda back to the office.
Do you know what happened with that key or that key ring?
No, sir.
Did you make an attempt to recover it after you learned about it?
Yes, sir. Reached out to Miranda several days later, once I realized that the key had been in the car on the day they were stopped. I did end up locating the car, apply for a search warrant, but the keys were no longer in the car.
Why did you reach out to Miranda?
She was doing it in the car, sir. Yeah. Just, you know,
Was the car ever in police custody?
not after we released it at that scene, no, sir, after that apprehension.
When was it released?
On the Tuesday after the apprehension, it was released to, she had family members living there, so we left the car there. And after she was interviewed, she went back.
So it was released the same day as the apprehension?
Yes, sir.
What did you do next in your investigation?
I mean, there was other video.
Did you review other video?
Yes, sir.
Did you ever locate a potential firearm that could have been used in the shooting?
No, sir.
Is a firearm capable of causing death or serious bodily injury?
Yes, sir.
Is it a deadly weapon?
Yes, sir.
And as far as the casings that were found on the scene, were there any bullet fragments to the actual, I guess, the leading part of the bullet found, or just casings?
There was no, at the actual scene, no, it was just the 3.45 caliber casings.
Did you identify the victim of the shooting?
It was eventually he was identified as Justin Larrabee.
Was there an autopsy done on Justin Larrabee?
Yes, sir.
Did you attend that autopsy?
I believe I did. Yes, sir.
And did you confirm that the deceased was Justin Larrabee?
Yes, sir. They verified identification by fingerprints.
That's the witness, Judge.
Defense.
Did you interview any of the witnesses subsequent to other detectives interviewing them? There were several people at the scene, right?
Yes, sir. You mean after they gave their statement to headquarters, sir?
Yeah.
No, sir.
But what you do is you take the evidence that you get from those other people and you put it in a prosecution time.
Yes.
And you're aware that some witnesses described two people fleeing the scene, correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you ever follow up on that?
No, sir. So some of the witnesses that described seeing two people, we determined it was the defendant and the suspect and Mr. Mata. Because some.
Where does it say that in your report?
I guess it does.
Okay,
Yeah.
and that's something, I mean, you said you were a patrolman for how long?
7 years.
5 years on night CID.
Yes, sir.
And you're trained to put all the important information in your report, correct?
Yes,
Everything relevant to the case.
yes.
That's not in your report.
No, it's not.
Wouldn't you think it'd be kind of important?
Yes, sir.
Because, I'm sorry, yes, because two different witnesses described seeing two people leaving the scene,
Yes, sir.
okay? And you're saying, now you made the determination of who these people were. Did you conduct an investigation into that, or how did you make that determination?
No, at that time, the people they were describing matched the description of Mr. Mata chasing after the defendant, as he said in his statement. And the reason it stood out is because they described him carrying a gun case, and Mr. Mata was carrying a gun case when he was running after the suspect.
One person describes that, right? The other person doesn't, right?
Okay.
And it describes a skinny male, right? A tall, skinny male, as one of the people described.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you talked to, and I think the person in question is a guy named Dan Trevino, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Would you describe him as tall?
No, sir.
Okay. And you met Brandon Guzman, right?
Yes, sir.
Would you describe him as tall?
Other than Mr. Trevino, that's about it.
How tall is Mr. Trevino?
I don't know, like relative, I guess when they're,
Okay. But you're saying you made that determination that you just decided it wasn't important to put it in your report. Right? As far as what you thought had happened and what the witnesses observed.
I thought they were observing that, like I said, Mr. Trevino chasing after the defendant.
Okay. I understand you said you thought that. Did you go and talk to the witnesses and say, hey, is this the person that you saw?
No, sir.
Kind of an important fact, correct? Particularly on a homicide case?
Yes, sir.
And you were asked a question about the ammunition that was found in Miranda's car, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's talk about that.
Okay.
So there was a bag, I think of 39 9mm rounds, correct?
Yes, sir.
There were two 45 caliber rounds, correct?
That's correct, sir.
Where were they found?
The 45 caliber rounds?
Correct.
There, look. I know one of them was found in a like little red fanny pack.
What about the other one?
I don't know where, I off the top of my head, I don't remember which.
In your report? Found in a purse, wasn't it?
I haven't found it, sure, but yes.
Found in a purse.
Yeah, yes.
Did you ever find out whose purse it was?
No, sir.
Why not?
I don't know. I just assumed it was Miranda's purse.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the question is if we're talking about the importance of these 45 caliber rounds in the vehicle, and I think that's the question that's being asked of you is to stress the importance of that. It would be kind of important to find out who or where these items were found inside the vehicle, right? So whose fanny pack was it? Do you know?
No, sir.
And you never did you look inside or have somebody look inside to see if there were any identifiers?
No, sir.
And anybody ever look in the purse to see if there were any identifiers as far as whose purse it was, or excluding Miranda or anything else like that?
No, sir. Not that I know.
And the 9mm pistols were found in the back seat, right in the pocket.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about the Mercedes key fob.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you know what year model this key fob I guess goes to?
I don't know anything about what it goes to, no, sir. Other than it looks like it's a Mercedes key fob.
Okay, so the key fob was in a backpack in the back seat, correct?
That's
Is that your
correct, sir.
understanding?
Yes, sir.
And we were told earlier that the backpack was turned into the property room by another detective, correct?
That's correct, sir.
And subsequently, the key fob disappeared. Right, never found it.
Never found it, yes, sir.
So you have no way of knowing whose key fob that was. Right?
Not without the key fob, no, sir.
Nobody ever took a picture of the Gold's Gym tag
No, sir.
to see if there's a number or barcode, so you could find out whose
No, sir.
key fob it was. You said that you had gone to the hospital to talk to Mark Hernandez,
Yes, sir.
correct? And he had told you his keys were with his stuff in his apartment?
If I remember correctly, sir, I told him that we had locked up his apartment. And I asked him if he had keys. He said they were with his key fob. That the house key should be there, but that's all I remember him saying.
I wrote it down.
State.
Nothing further, Judge.
All right, is this witness excused or subject for recall?
I don't need it.
Excused by the state judge.
All right, the rule has been invoked. What that means is you can't discuss your testimony with anyone. The only persons you're allowed to speak to are attorneys for the state or the defense.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. You can step
Have a
down.
good day.
You too. All right, state, who's your next witness?
State calls Kevin Schmachtenberger. To be clear, that was not a stroke, that actually is his name.
Okay.
Schmachtenberger. Said it right.
Dinah, I will have that name spelled for you.
That's
Now, if you'll take a seat here, please. All right, if you could raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, if you will state your name for the record and spell it, please, and please make sure you keep your voice up so that the court reporter and the jurors can hear.
My name is Detective Kevin Schmachtenberger. It's spelled Schmachtenberger.
All right, state,
Okay,
Thank you, Judge.
state.
Do you mind if I call you Kevin?
sure, that's
Okay.
perfect.
I'm not trying to be informal, but I'm gonna butcher that if I keep saying that name over and over. What do you do for a living?
I'm a detective with the San Antonio Police Department. I work in the digital forensics detail and more specifically in the video investigations section of the forensics unit.
What are your duties with the video investigations?
So my main duties are to collect and store any video evidence from external sources, not within the body cam, dash cam, or crime scene photos areas.
Do you receive any kind of training in relation to that?
Yeah, we get training in video collection. And then in terms of storage, we have specific policies that how we store masters and make copies and provide those.
In connection with your duties, do you have access to information contained on San Antonio camera systems or video systems?
Yes, the city of San Antonio has a large number of surveillance cameras around the city at certain intersections and city facilities. I have access to not only view those surveillance cameras, but download and extract video from them to be saved for at a later time.
May I approach the witness, Judge?
Yes.
Detective, I'm showing you what's been marked as State Exhibit 54. Do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes, that is a disc that I burned, made a copy of. It is a copy of the master, which was collected from our video vault.
When you're referring to a master, what is a master in that context?
So the master is the original evidence. So whenever we extract a video, the disc that is made is the master that stays in the vault, which is a secure area. And anytime we need any further copies from that time, the master is duplicated, master stays in the vault, and then the copy is provided to the detective or the district attorney's office or whoever requested.
And is the master kept in the regular course of business by the city of San Antonio?
Yes.
Or is it the city of San Antonio, or is it specifically your division?
So it's the San Antonio.
Sorry.
Or specifically your division?
All right, so just a moment. So there can only be one person talking at a time. So I realize that when people are talking and they're not on the record, people tend to talk over each other, but it makes it difficult for the court reporter. So if you can wait till he finishes his question and then state if you'll wait till the answer is completed.
Yes, sir.
All right, you may proceed.
So to answer your question, it's the San Antonio Police Department is the department that stores and houses the master video collection.
So then, is your division the custodian of records for those videos?
Yes.
And these videos, specifically the master edit issue in this case, was it collected at or near the time of the incident that's reported on it?
Yes, it was not collected by me. I did not work there at that time, but based on the disc and the master and the request, it was collected at that time. Yes, sir.
And as a custodian of records, you have access to that video in as a part of your duties, is that right?
Yes.
Was the recording system, I guess, operating properly when it was recording?
Yes, the system that records the city cameras, it has accurate date and time stamps. The cameras are not always working. Every camera is not always working. They're constantly being repaired and updated, moved around. But according to this situation, the camera at that location was working at that time.
Was there anything unusual about the master of which, say, Exhibit 54 is a copy?
Yes, in this case, it appears that the master has some distortion on the video. Could be caused by a number of factors. I couldn't tell you exactly the cause of that, but there is some distortion on the master.
Aside from the distortion, was the camera capable of recording what it was pointed at?
Yes.
And does the copy that's contained in, say, Exhibit 54, does it contain a recording of the timestamp that it reports to?
Yes,
And did you say you had a chance to review Exhibit 54?
I did.
Has it been altered since you were the one that downloaded it?
I didn't download it. I made a copy of the master, but no, it hasn't been altered.
At this time, Your Honor, the state offers Exhibit 54 into evidence for all purposes.
No objection.
All right, State's Exhibit number 54 is admitted without objection.
Thank you, Your Honor. May we publish?
Yes.
Right, and we're seeing here at the beginning, it looks like there's a content down near the bottom of 934:57, and
Is no one object to leading a witness?
Sustained.
what time do we see at the bottom of the video?
The timestamp showed here is 9:34:57 a.m. on July 29th, 2019.
Is that an accurate timestamp?
Yes.
Is there anything unusual about the video that we're seeing right now, the display?
Right, as you can see in that bottom portion right now, you have the distortion I referred to about earlier, which that is on the master.
We'll start playing it. All right, so we'll jump to 9:44 a.m. on the video. And stopping at 9:44 and 33 seconds. May I approach the witness, Judge?
Yes.
Showing you what has been marked as six exhibits numbers 58, 59, and 60. Could you tell me what those are, generally speaking?
They appear to be screenshots, still shots of the video that we're watching.
All right, and do these look like accurate copies that were obtained from this distorted video?
They look like accurate depictions of a picture of the video here, yes.
And to your knowledge, have they been altered in any way?
No, not to my knowledge.
Your Honor, at this time, we offer six exhibits 58, 59, and 60 into evidence for all purposes.
All right, states exhibits 58, 59, and 60 are admitted without objection.
Thank you, Your Honor. May we publish?
Yes.
All right, so what we're seeing in exhibit 58, that's pretty close to what we were just looking at in the disc, whichever exhibit number that was, right?
Yes, sir.
And now in exhibit 59, what are we seeing here?
It's another screenshot from the video. It's slightly more distorted because as the video progresses, it gets more distorted.
And now in exhibit 60, what are we seeing here?
Another screenshot from the video.
Were you involved in the actual investigation at issue in this case?
No, sir.
So you are not familiar with the significance of this vehicle, if there is any?
No, sir.
We'll pass it on, Judge.
Defense.
No question.
All right, is this witness excused or subject to recall?
Excused by the state, Judge.
I don't need it.
All right, the rule has been invoked. What that means is you can't discuss your testimony with anyone. The only persons you're allowed to speak to are attorneys for the state of the defense. All right, you may step down. Thank you. State, who is your next witness?
Judge, our next and I believe final witness is Dr. Kimberly Molina, but I'm not sure if she is here yet.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you all a 15-minute break till 3 o'clock. Remember my instructions. Don't speak to anyone about this case. If you hear anyone talking about this case, ignore it. There shouldn't be anything on social media or on the news, but if there is, ignore it. Do not do any investigation. Everything that you need to know about this case is to come from inside the courtroom. Do not deliberate in your own mind or with each other. I'll let you know when it's time to deliberate. All right, everyone, please rise for the jurors. All right, everyone, please be seated. State, call your next witness.
State calls Dr. Kimberly Molina.
All right, could you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, if you could lower your hand, please keep your voice up, and if you could state your name for the record and spell it.
Yes, I'm Dr. Kimberly Molina, Molina.
All right, state.
Thank you, Your Honor. And Dr. Molina, can you just please introduce yourself to the jury and just name your occupation?
Yes, again, I'm Dr. Kimberly Molina. I'm the Chief Medical Examiner at the Bexar County Medical Examiner's Office.
And I want to say briefly, can you go over your experience and your education?
Yes. I attended and graduated from the University of Texas at Austin with a degree in mathematics. I then attended and graduated from the University of Texas Health Science Center Medical School here in San Antonio. I completed my internship in family medicine at the University of Arkansas in Fort Smith, Arkansas. I then returned to San Antonio to complete my training in anatomic, clinical, and forensic pathology. And I'm board certified by the American Board of Pathology in anatomic, clinical, and forensic pathology.
It seems like you just rattled that off pretty easily. It seems like you've gone over that numerous times. So would it be fair to say that you've testified, at least in Bexar County and other counties, several times as a medical examiner?
Yes,
And you're considered an expert in that field, is that correct?
yes.
Thank you. I want to go ahead and jump right into the autopsy report that was made for case number 2019-1854. And the individual named on that was a Justin Matthew Larvey. Did you review an autopsy report associated with that number and name?
Yes,
And on that particular autopsy report, did you review and determine the cause of death of that individual?
yes.
And what was the cause of death of that individual?
A gunshot wound to the head.
And you're on me, our approach.
Yes.
I want to show you what smarts, that's some photos that I have here. State exhibit number 26. Is that a photo that was taken during the autopsy?
Yes,
And is it associated with that same number that I listed earlier in testimony here?
I don't actually recall the number you said. But
Okay.
This is 2019-1854, which I believe is what you said.
All right, and is that associated with the autopsy report copy that you have?
Yes,
Okay, thank you. And that would be the individual that the autopsy was performed upon.
yes,
I'm also going to show you what's marked state exhibit number 61, 62, 63, 64, 65. Can you please just go ahead and review those photos and tell me if these are also photos that were taken at the time of this autopsy?
yes, they are.
Okay, thank you. And at this time, Your Honor, the state would ask to enter state exhibit number 26. Also 61, 62, 63, 64, and 65. We will tender to defense for any objections.
Judge, the only objection I have is to 61, and if I can approach, I'll.
Yes. All right, defense,
Judge, my objection is to 61 is.
all right, with regards to states exhibits 26, 62, 63, 64, 65 are admitted without objection. With regards to 61, that item has been agreed to be removed. And with regards to states exhibits 26, 62, 63, 64, 65, defense, do you stipulate that that is the complainant that is listed in the indictment, Mr. Larby?
Yes.
You're welcome.
Thank you. May I publish it?
Yes, you may publish.
Doctor, I'm gonna, on the overhead projector,
Yes,
I'm gonna go ahead and put this on the overhead projector. Mr. Jordan is gonna help me out with that.
well, just one second.
I'll go ahead and,
Deputy Laura, is there an issue with the projection?
Did they change the buttons?
Judge, I don't mind proceeding.
Okay.
I'll just show it to them. That might be easier.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Yes, you may proceed.
That's fine.
All right. State exhibit number,
For time purposes, really, I don't like, that's just.
state exhibit number 26. Is this what you, what do y'all consider this picture?
This is called our identification photograph. It's taken of every case we have at the medical examiner's office. As you can see, it's a photograph of the head of the decedent, the person who had the examination, as well as a placard indicating the unique case number that was assigned to that particular autopsy and death investigation.
Then I'm going to go ahead and bring up state exhibit number 62.
And state if the witness wishes, or if you wish for the witness to step down into the well in defense, you may move around to view what's being viewed as well. You may do so.
Thank you, Judge. Number 62. I'm going to go ahead and show that to the jury.
Can you please describe what this photograph is of?
That is a photograph of the gunshot entry wound to the head of the individual in the previous exhibit.
And I'm pointing right here. Is that where that entry wound is?
Yes,
And so that looks like, well, I think we laughed about it earlier, but if I had a hairline up here, it would be right about here. Is that correct?
correct. Right about at the hairline on the left top of the forehead.
Top of the left. And then,
I'm going to show them state exhibit number 63. What is that a picture of?
That is the same wound, but we have shaved the hair surrounding the wound so we can get a better picture, a better view of the wound itself, rather than it being obscured with the hair.
and so y'all are the ones that shaved around the wound so you can get a better picture of the wound and look at it.
Correct.
State exhibit number 64.
What is that a picture of?
That is a picture of the exit wound on the back, kind of right back side of the scalp.
Okay, and I'm
Where
pointing
the-
to the back right about here.
Correct.
Okay,
Where the bullet exited the head.
exited the head. And so if he was shot in the top left and the exit wound is to the bottom right. Do you know, well, I'll ask you in front of the jury here. Do you know where the gun was held or how it was held?
Not necessarily no, but I know the relationship that the firearm had to have with the head.
And what can you describe to the jury what that means?
So bodies move, but the path through the body doesn't change, meaning in this particular case, the bullet went from left to right, front to back, and down. So it goes in on the left side, out on the right side, from the front to the back, and the bullet travels down. So the firearm must be above, slightly to the left, and in front of the decedent when it's fired. However, the head moves. So if you imagine that my finger here represents the firearm, if my head moves, the firearm moves with it. So I can't say exactly where the firearm was, but its relationship to the head cannot change.
Okay, so in an example, if this gunshot wound was here for the entry and then exit, that would be roughly a straight line in between these 2 points. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, and so if somebody had a gun where Jason, where my co-counsels are, and I was shot in this fashion, bending down and moving my head towards the ground and looking down at the ground, would that be a possibility of the actual gunshot wound and where the gun was in orientation to the victim?
Yes.
Okay. And then state exhibit number 65 is, can you describe that?
That again is a photograph of the exit wound, but we have shaved the hair around the exit wound so you can fully see the exit wound.
Thank you. Now, also with the autopsy, was there a toxicology done on the victim?
Yes.
And did that toxicology report come back with any substances in the body or system of the victim?
We test the blood and no, it did not come back with any drugs or chemicals within the blood of the decedent.
And also, in your in this autopsy report, was there any indication of, I guess, what we call close range firing?
No.
And can you describe to the jury what close range firing entails?
So when a firearm is discharged, elements come out of the barrel of the firearm besides the bullet. If you think about it, we've probably all seen photographs of a firearm being discharged and you see kind of that plume of smoke and the bullet coming out. That plume of smoke actually has different elements in it. Specifically, it has soot or carbon, because in order for the bullet to come out of the firearm, there's a small explosion, if you will, in the body of that firearm, creating a small fire. So you can have soot, which is the kind of byproduct of that fire. You can have heat from that fire itself, and you can have both burnt and unburnt firearm particles, the gunpowder particles, coming out the end of the firearm. Those are coming out at such speeds that they will leave marks on the body, depending on where the body is in relation to that firearm. So the closer the body is, say the firearm's in contact with the skin, we might see a certain characteristic marks. And the further away you get, we see these characteristic marks, helping us to decide where that firearm is. However, those elements only travel so far. So when you get far enough away from the firearm, we don't see anything. So we call that no evidence of close range. For a generic handgun, that's usually about 2 to 3 feet. So within 2 to 3 feet, we might see these characteristics kind of helping us to say it's close. But outside of that, 5 feet, 10 feet, we won't see those. And that would be no evidence of close range.
Thank you. Stated, I'm going to show you what's marked state exhibit number 66 is, well, one, can you identify that piece of paper?
Yes, this is the last, actually, this is the 5th page of our autopsy report. It's a body diagram that we prepare as part of our reports, just showing the injuries that were present.
And does it indicate on this diagram the entry room?
Yes,
And it also indicates the exit room.
yes.
And it looks like it also indicates other, I guess what we would call just bodily injuries or injuries on the body. Can you just describe those?
Yes, so there are some contusions or bruises and abrasions or scratches also on the body. There's some bruises of the forehead. There's a bruise and a scratch on the right shoulder, and some bruises and scratches on the left knee. These are what we would call non-specific. We're documenting that they're there, but I couldn't tell you what caused them.
But in the end, the cause of death, was it the wound that you described as the gunshot wound to the head?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Judge, we're asking to enter state exhibit number 66. We'll tender to defense for any objection.
All right, state's exhibit number 66 is admitted without objection.
Thank you.
And, oh, yeah, I posed it to the jury, yeah.
Yes.
Which I'm already doing, I apologize. And, no further questions, Your Honor, will pass the witness.
Defense?
No question.
All right, is this witness excused or subject for recall?
Yes, please, excuse, Your Honor.
Defense?
I don't need her anymore.
All right, the rule has been invoked. What that means is you can't discuss your testimony with anyone. The only persons you're allowed to speak to are attorneys for the state or the defense. All right, thank you. You may be excused. All right, state, call your next witness.
At this time, the state rests.
Defense?
Defense rest.
State, do you close?
State closes.
Be close.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as I discussed with you yesterday, we will come back on Monday for closing arguments. And we will start those, even though I have a docket on Monday, we're going to do closing arguments in the morning, starting at 9 o'clock. What will end up happening is I'll read to you the jury charge, then the state and the defense will have a chance to present their closing arguments to you. With regards to Thursday and Friday, Deputy Laura will give you the documentation that you need. So again, Monday, because Friday is a holiday. Monday is going to be like a Monday and a Tuesday, so the garage is probably going to be doubly packed. So everybody who should have been on Friday, they're probably going to be recalled for Monday. So again, make sure you're probably arrive at court no later than 8:30 so you can have a parking space at the garage. Remember my instructions. You're not to review anything. If anybody's talking about this case, ignore it, go away from it. If you see anything, ignore it. There should not be anything floating about, but if there is, ignore it. Do not do any investigation work on this case. Everything that you need to know about this case is to come from inside this courtroom only. Does everyone understand? You're not to start deliberating amongst yourselves or singularly. So don't do it. All right. And so we'll be back on Monday at 9 a.m. for closing arguments. Any questions before I release you? All right, everyone, be safe out there. Okay. All right. Please rise.